Never again. Hello everyone, I am Mr. Daydream. Welcome to the show. For today's episode, I'm going to be talking about math and algebra. While we're on this topic, let's talk about school. No! Yeah, but let me get to the point. When you have classes, you're bound to get some of those classes that you excel at. For me, any class that involves art is a piece of cake. Well, for the most part. But you get the idea. But for the classes where you're the boss, there are bound to be classes that are your worst nightmares. But you have to take them anyway, no matter how much you don't want to. For me, one of my worst subjects has to be math and algebra. I really don't know, nor care what the difference between these two are, but from what I can remember, the difference is that algebra has letters. That's pretty much it. I've always hated these two subjects, and I'm pretty sure they hate me as well. Alright then. The reason why I'm not a professional at math is because I'm terrible with numbers. To me, all numbers, no matter in what order they're placed, are confusing as heck. At least with letters, they can spell out things that you can say, which makes them easier to remember, even if it doesn't make sense at times. Numbers aren't exactly easy to remember. I mean, I know that 2 comes after 1, and 3 comes after 2. But if you have to memorize a whole line of numbers, don't be surprised when you hear people say, "Huh? Can you repeat that?" for the 4th time. If I say a long word such as procrastination, you're bound to remember it almost instantly. But if I say something like 358874901183, chances are you're going to forget most of it in a matter of seconds, unless you're an elephant. I wonder what being an elephant would be like. When it comes to numbers, I tend to write them down on a piece of paper. Things like phone numbers, addresses, sheep, and so on. Because I find it difficult to remember or recall a string of numbers that have no consistent pattern. Unless it's really short, of course. So with that said, is it any wonder why I'm not particularly good at math? Because it involves numbers. And as it goes on, it gets more and more difficult. There are even more numbers involved, so much so that I should try not to get lost in it. And that's not the only reason. Think about it. In math, the only important things to know are adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And maybe percentage, and certain formulas, and pi. They're worth remembering because they can actually be useful in life. So why do they bother teaching us these irrelevant things that we'll only use in math and algebra classes and nowhere else? Anyways, since math is not my forte, I had to take multiple developmental math classes throughout my school years, and if that wasn't enough, in college I had to take 3 developmental math classes as well as a regular algebra class. Yeah, it shouldn't come as a surprise at this point that I suck at math. But those were dark times, especially in college, mostly because of this one thing that's bound to make lots of people cringe. My math lab. Never have I hated a website so much. Not only that, but because this is college, you had to buy a stupid access code that costs like $100-something in order to use it. So yeah, thank you, college. Thank you for making me spend even more money just so I can use a program that's required for a class that I've already paid money for. Thanks. As if college wasn't expensive enough. Not to mention some classes requires you to buy a book that you're barely gonna use because most of it's already been covered in my math labs, so what's the point of these things anyway? As for the website, it's a constant struggle. All this constant homework clogging up my schedule has given me nightmares involving nothing but numbers. I swear this website tries to feed off your valuable free time as much as possible. If you're not a college student, free time is extremely valuable. If you have plenty of free time, don't let it go to waste. I don't know about you, but every time I see that big green box telling me that the answer is correct, I feel like I've accomplished something as comparable as winning the lottery. Now let's talk about the tests. Brilliant. And not in a good way. Remember how I mentioned earlier that I wasn't good at remembering numbers? Well, how do you think I would feel about having to memorize formulas? No! To be fair, a lot of them are short, and as long as you remember them as well as the steps, you should be fine. But things can get even more difficult when the formulas and the steps are even longer. It can be really frustrating, because you can spend hours trying to memorize them, but if you suddenly forget a single tiny step, it's all over. A lot of times, the teachers don't let you use your notes on the test. So what I usually do is as soon as I get the test, I write down the formulas as fast as I can on scratch paper. Because I know my brain is going to let me down once I depend on it for one single task. It's just memorizing formulas. Why is it so hard? But at least the teachers I had were generous. They would give me partial credit for getting some parts of the question right, instead of treating it as if I left it blank. I bet there are teachers out there that show no mercy, and if you have a teacher like that, you have my sympathy. Now we can't talk about math without mentioning... algebra. I'm serious, what's the point of this class? It's never going to help me in the future. All it is just math with letters, and some of the stupidest questions you will ever hear in your life. Like if Bob went and bought 40 watermelons at $3.25 each at 10 in the morning before the 30% off sale that happens the next day, how much money would Bob have saved if he bought the watermelons tomorrow? Okay, forget about how much he saved. I think the real question is, who the heck buys 40 watermelons? But other than that, it's ridiculous. Like, you'll ever get a question like that in real life. That'll be like if someone asks you, "Hey, you see this gallon of milk? If I drink 1 ounce every 12 minutes, how much time would it pass until I've emptied it?" I don't know about you, but since I hate algebra so much, my answer to that question is my fist. I think the purpose for algebra is to make you think outside the box, to find answers for anything, no matter how stupid it sounds. They're trying to make you think like Sherlock, when in reality you can just think like Watson. Imagine if two guys walked up to you and asked, "My friend Billy bought a roll of rope, but wants to know how long it is. This trapezoid structure is 4 feet long on both sides, 7 feet above, and 3 feet below. If he could circle this structure 6 times, how long is the rope?" Shouldn't it say it on the packaging? Why is there a trapezoid structure in the middle of nowhere? You see, it's so unnecessarily complicated and stupid, to the point to where I can't take it seriously, which is another reason why I wasn't good at math or algebra, because I couldn't take it seriously. Like, why should I bother spending my time on something that's never gonna be of any use in my life? The only reason why I'd be interested in algebra is if I want to be an algebra teacher. Do I look like the kind of guy that would be suited to be an algebra teacher? It won't work. It's because I have sideburns. But even so, we all have to take it anyway. It's a requirement, and it really sucks. Now look, if you love algebra and can't get enough of it, that's fine. If you're an algebra teacher watching this video, I don't hate you guys. I just hate the subject itself. I bet there are more benefits you can gain from math than algebra. But for someone like me who wants to be an animator as well as a content creator, those two subjects really have no purpose for me whatsoever, other than making this video. So this has been my video on math and algebra, and what I hate about it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for attending today, and I hope to see you again. So please grab a ticket and join me next time. Admission is free. Farewell.